The night the forest almost went dark forever began with a very small light. So small, in fact, that most animals barely noticed it. It blinked softly between the tall grasses, on, off, like a tiny star that had lost its way from the sky. That light belonged to a little firefly named Lumi. Lumi was not the biggest creature in the forest. Not the strongest. Not the fastest. And certainly not the most important. At least, that was what everyone believed. Even Lumi believed it. Every evening, when the sun dipped behind the distant hills and the forest began to cool, thousands of creatures woke for the night. Owls stretched their wings. Frogs began their croaking songs near the river. Bats flew silently between trees like shadows that had come alive. And everywhere, fireflies filled the air like drifting sparks. Their lights blinked together, turning the forest into a floating galaxy. But Lumi's light was different. It was smaller. Softer. Sometimes it flickered when she was nervous. Sometimes it glowed brightly when she felt happy. But most of the time, no one paid attention to it. The older fireflies were brighter. More confident. They gathered in large swirling groups that danced above the river like golden clouds. Lumi always hovered at the edge of those groups. Watching. Trying. Sometimes failing to keep up. One evening, while the fireflies gathered near the tall mango tree, Lumi struggled to match the rhythm of the others. Blink. 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 But her timing was off. Too slow, one firefly whispered. Too dim, said another. Lumi pretended not to hear. She drifted quietly away from the group and floated toward the darker part of the forest where fewer insects gathered. She didn't want anyone to see the sadness in her glow. Maybe my light isn't meant for dancing, she murmured to herself. The forest around her was quiet. The tall trees blocked much of the moonlight. Thick leaves formed dark shadows across the ground. Lumi blinked her small light again. On. Off. On. Off. Suddenly she heard a rustling sound in the bushes below. She hovered carefully closer. Something small was moving in the grass. And then she heard it. A soft whimper. Lumi lowered herself toward the ground and blinked her light again. The glow revealed a tiny rabbit sitting beside a tree root. The little rabbit's ears drooped sadly. Its eyes were wide with fear. Oh, Lumi said gently. Are you all right? The rabbit looked up, startled. I can't find my burrow, the rabbit said in a trembling voice. My mother went ahead, and I tried to follow. But everything looks the same in the dark. The rabbit sniffed. I think I'm lost. Lumi looked around. The forest floor was indeed confusing at night. Roots twisted across the soil. Tall grass swayed softly. Without moonlight or glowing insects, it would be almost impossible for a young rabbit to navigate. But Lumi had one advantage. Her light. She blinked it gently again. On. Off. On. Off. Well, she said softly, I may not be very bright. But maybe I can help you see the path.
I may not be very bright, but
the
maybe I
rabbit's
can help
eyes
you see the
widened
path.
slightly.
You would help me?
You would help me.
Of course.
Of course, Lumi replied. She hovered slightly above the ground so her glow illuminated the nearby grass. Do you remember anything about where your burrow is?
There's a big rock shaped
The
like a
rabbit thought
sleeping turtle
carefully.
fort. Follow me.
There's a big rock, shaped like a sleeping turtle, and a tree with roots that stick out like fingers. Lumi nodded. I think I've seen that place before. She floated slowly forward. Follow me. The rabbit hopped behind her carefully. Step by step, Lumi led the way. Her small glow revealed stones hidden in the grass. It showed dips in the soil where the rabbit might stumble. And slowly, after several minutes, they reached a familiar clearing. There. The rabbit cried happily. A small burrow entrance rested beneath a large tree root. A worried mother rabbit rushed out immediately. Where have you been? She gasped. But when she saw the glowing firefly hovering nearby, her voice softened. Oh, you helped him. Lumi blinked shyly. It was nothing.
Oh,
The mother
you
rabbit
helped
bowed her
him.
head slightly.
It was nothing.
To us,
To us, it was
was
everything.
everything. To us,
To us, it was
was
everything.
Lumi felt something warm inside her chest. Her light glowed a little brighter. Good night, she said softly before drifting back into the forest. She didn't realize it yet. But that tiny act of kindness had already started something much bigger than she could imagine. Later that night, as Lumi floated near the edge of the forest, she heard another sound. This time it was heavier. Slow footsteps. Branches shifting. A large shadow moved between the trees. Lumi blinked her light cautiously. It was Boko the old tortoise. Boko was known across the forest as the slowest traveler of all. His shell was thick and worn from many years of wandering. He moved carefully, step by step, like someone counting every moment. But tonight, Boko looked confused. He turned his head slowly from side to side. Is something wrong? Lumi asked gently. The tortoise lifted his head and squinted at the small glow. My eyes are not what they used to be, Boko
Is
said
something
slowly.
wrong?
I was trying to reach the river,
but the river
but the
isn't
path
far
has
from
become
here.
too dark. Lumi hovered closer. The river isn't far from here, she said. I can guide you. Boko chuckled softly. A tiny firefly guiding an old tortoise. He shook his head with amusement. Well, I suppose stranger things have happened. And so Lumi floated forward again, lighting the path. Step by slow step, the tortoise followed. It took a long time. But eventually the sound of flowing water reached them. There it is, Lumi said. The tortoise nodded gratefully. Thank you, little one. He paused thoughtfully before continuing. You know, the forest often thinks greatness comes from strength. He looked toward her glowing light. But sometimes it comes from something much smaller. Lumi didn't know what to say. So she simply blinked her light again. On. Off. On. Off. And somewhere high above the trees, a wise old owl watched everything. The owl had lived in the forest longer than most animals could remember. He had seen storms tear down giant trees. He had seen droughts dry the river. And he had seen kindness ripple through the forest in ways no one expected. The owl blinked slowly and whispered to himself. Interesting. He turned his head toward the glowing firefly. Very interesting. Because deep in the forest, a problem was coming. A problem that would soon make the entire forest darker than it had ever been. And strangely enough, the only creature who might help solve it was the smallest light of all. Thanks for staying tuned. Watch out for the next episode. Follow us on all our social media, at IG at input_media, FB at loaded_abuyumiogonted, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Turn on the notification button to get alerts for the next episode. Thanks.